Hi everyone, I'm delighted to be here, so thanks for the invite, Jackie, and the IT and the team. Today's talk is going to be on getting active. So really, hopefully at the end of the session, you'll be a little bit more motivated, a little bit more inspired to get out there and get active. I know some of you students, you might be here on an active leisure course, so you might already know a lot of this, so you can help me out if you do. So really, I'm going to cover some of the benefits of being active. Why do we even need to hear about getting more active? And talk a little bit about the guidelines, so what we should be doing and why. And then we go into a little bit on motivation. So we know what we should be doing, we know why we should be doing it, but what's going to help us get out there and actually doing it. Particularly as we move into the winter months, it does get a little bit more challenging. So you might recognise this image. We've seen this kind of evolution outline before, and really from a physical activity perspective, what we need to remember is that we've evolved from being hunters and gatherers. And as hunters and gatherers, can you guess how many kilometres a day they would have done on average? Going about their daily hunting and gathering activities. It's estimated between 6 and 16 kilometres are covered a day back in those days, expending about 800 to 1200 extra calories just for physical activity alone. So that's how our bodies are geared up. Our bodies want to move like that. They've evolved to move like that for our survival. But as you know, physical activity has been pretty much engineered out of our lives. We can get through our day fairly sedentary, sitting in the car, sitting at work, sitting at home, even ordering our shopping online. So everything can be done, and we've really gotten much, much more sedentary than our bodies alike. And there's lots of consequences for our health, including the big trend that we can see now in obesity. So really, we need to realise that we've done something wrong here. We're not going in the right direction. So this talk today is a little bit about what we can do about that. So as I said, we've pretty much tried to look for every opportunity to conserve our energy, and that's one of the things that came with us from the hunter and gatherer era. We needed to conserve energy at times to save it for the times we needed to be active. But the problem in today's society is there aren't that many opportunities to be active unless we actively seek them out. And even when we do exercise, it's very much a segmented part of our day. We pretty much isolate that 30 minutes or that 20 minutes, whatever it might be, and once we've that done, we think, great, that's that box ticked, and off we go. And actually the emerging research is telling us that that's actually not enough. We need to be doing a little bit more, and I'll come back to that a little later. So a guesstimate, if I went down to Denny Street right now and just picked random 10 people, and how many out of those on average you think would be active enough to reach the guidelines for health? Any guesses? 2 or 3, 4. You're in and about the right place. The Sloan surveys were telling us it was about 4 out of every 10. The more recent Healthy Ireland survey in 2015 is telling us only 3 out of every 10 are active enough for our health. And also, if you remember, and if any of you have been involved in physical activity research, these are self-reported. And what do you think we do when it comes to our physical activity? Do you think we under-report or over-report? Tend to over-report, yeah. We under-report what we eat, but we over-report our exercise levels. So really, even at that 3 out of 10 is probably quite unrealistic in terms of what it actually is. I'd say it's more like the 2 out of 10. And why do we care about that? Well, physical inactivity is actually the 4th leading cause of death. So that's one of the big reasons why we care. It's going to affect our mortality and also affect our health in a massive way as well. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And just to give you the context in Ireland, the good news is we're living longer. Our life expectancy has increased about 3 years, but our health expectancy hasn't. Men on average are living with about 10 years of chronic morbidity, and women are living with about 13 years of chronic morbidity. So we're living longer, but we're not living healthier. And I, for one, I know I don't want to live into my old age, living longer, but living with heart disease and all the comorbidities that go with that as well. And I'm sure none of you do too. And that's why physical activity is so important to make sure that we bring it into our lives. And this Dr. Mike Evans, he did a little research in terms of all the interventions that are out there that are going to help us live without those years of chronic morbidity, and this is what he found.
Hi, Dr. Mike Evans, and welcome to this visual lecture I'm calling 23 and a half hours.
Can you hear it?
So I have a big interest in preventive medicine, which can mean a lot of things from, cancer screening to eating more fiber to having a good social network, and I mean that in the old sense of the word. weighing less, drinking less, smoking less, controlling your blood pressure, cholesterol, and so on and so forth. So all these things are incredibly important, and I wouldn't want you to minimize your efforts in any one category, but I want to know what comes first. What has the biggest impact? What is the biggest return on investment? What makes the biggest difference to your health? So I did my research, and I found an answer, at least for me, and it's tricky because, you know, all these things are sort of overlapping. But I picked up this intervention, and because of its breadth, it worked for so many different health problems, and that's what I found so cool about it. So just to kind of walk you through a quick list. So this intervention in patients with knee arthritis who receive 1 hour of treatment 3 times a week reduced their rates of pain and disability by 47%. In older patients, it reduced progression in dementia and Alzheimer's by around 50%. For patients at high risk of diabetes and coupled with other lifestyle interventions, it reduced progression to frank diabetes by 58%. Postmenopausal woman who had 4 hours a week of the treatment had a 41% reduction in the risk of hip fracture. It reduced anxiety by 48% in a big meta-analysis. Patients suffering from depression, 30% were relieved with low dose, and that bumped to 47% as we increased the dose. Following over 10,000 Harvard alumni for over 12 years, those that had the intervention had a 23% lower risk of death than those who didn't get the treatment. It's the #1 treatment of fatigue, and of course, the kind of outcome of choice, or my favorite outcome, is quality of life, which is really all of the above, and really about making your life better. And this treatment has been shown over and over again to improve quality of life. So the question is, what's the medicine, and what is 23.5 hours? So the medicine was exercise, mostly walking, so not triathlons.
So that's the good news for you. It's not triathlons. You don't have to do Ironman after this. But yeah, you can see that's kind of a quick 2-minute fly through the research that shows us the benefits of exercise and of being physically active. And you can see how powerful it is in terms of the treatment. Pretty much every illness and disease, it plays a preventive role and a treatment role. And I could spend a whole day really going through all the research that's talking to us about the benefits, but you had a quick summary of them there. And some people are quite surprised. They have a sense that physical activity is good for them, but they're not necessarily, don't know necessarily the extent of how good in terms of reducing risk of cancers by 20 to 40%, depending on the cancer. Reducing risk of pretty much every illness and disease that's out there. Were any of those surprising to you? Any of those conditions that he mentioned, or any of those stats? Yeah, quite a few of them. And even, along with the physical benefits as well, the mental health benefits of exercise, I don't think we kind of give enough airtime to, in a sense. We promote a lot of the physical activity, or the physical benefits of activity, but not often the mental health benefits. And they're the ones that are immediate. Who goes out for a walk and comes back feeling worse? That's an immediate benefit. And in this day of kind of immediate gratification, the mental health benefits are really, really powerful. And also if we look at, Ireland and the high rates of suicide and depression and anxiety, it really, really is powerful. And I know myself, I lost my brother earlier this year. If it wasn't for exercise, I don't know what I would have done. It really, really helped me pull through. I lost interest in a lot of things, but my exercise, getting out, doing my training, just really pulled me through and just helped me cope with that. And as students as well, it's just so powerful. And you'll find, it's the days that you're too busy to exercise are the days you need it most. It really is. They're the days, because you'll come back, you'll be so much more productive when after a bout of exercise. You'll be so much more focused, you'll get through a lot more work, and you'll just be set yourself up in a much better frame of mind. And everything here from depression you saw in that little video clip, reduce your depression up to 48%. Majority of studies show that for mild to moderate depression, physical activity is more powerful than any drug that's out there. That's powerful stuff. Similar things with diabetes and so on, but with mental health, it really, really is powerful. And I know if I don't get out for a couple of days, if something happens, my husband will be kicking me out the door because I'm not nice to live with. It really helps boost us up and gives us that kind of positive sense of well-being that I think most of us need to do with today's lifestyle. And again, just a quick example of the difference. Just a 20-minute walk, the difference it can do to really alerting. Feeling more alert and heightening your attention, and your processing ability as well. So again, for study, really, really important. I would always go for exercise before a big project or big something that I had to do. So it is really, you know, like a drug. If there was a headline in the Kerryman this week saying, you know, we found this super drug, you know, it's going to reduce your risk of diabetes, of heart disease, of stroke, of cancers, you know, the whole list that went on, and you'd be thinking, gosh, there must be some really serious side effects to this drug if it can do all that. Yeah, you're going to sleep better, you're going to look better, you're going to feel better, you're going to have more social contacts, you're going to lose weight. You know, it really is a super, super powerful drug that we have, you know, available to us at pretty much low cost, and, you know, just get your runners and get up and get out. So it really, really is powerful, and it is something we should be prescribing not just for ourselves, but if you're in social care, whatever area you're moving into, that you'd be prescribing it to your clients and patients too. And as it says here, to treat your high blood pressure, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, osteoporosis, take this new pill every day. Take it out for a jog, then take it to the gym, then take it for a bike ride. So it really, really is powerful as a prescriptive drug in a sense. So hopefully that message is getting across to you. So any questions so far? I know I talk quickly, so shout. Feel free to ask questions at any point in time as we run through this as well. So to get all those health benefits we talked about, what do you think the recommended number of minutes is? Any guesses? 30 minutes, yep. So this is what the current recommendation is, and these change over time depending as more and more research comes out, but these are the current guidelines. Moderate intensity activity, so that's your kind of walking, not, you know, you don't necessarily have to build up a sweat, it's something you could do on your lunchtime and get back into classes or work. So 30 minutes at least 5 days a week. And the good news is, you know, what do you think the excuse I hear the most is with people when it comes to exercise? Time, absolutely. So the good news is that you can accumulate the 30 minutes. So anything in bouts of 10 minutes or more is counted towards the 30 minutes. So 10 minutes in the morning, 10 at lunch, 10 in the evening. It's, you know, quite easy to do. You know, we've 1,440 minutes in a day. That's usually my response to people. So, you know, we can easily find 30 of those for exercise once we decide that it is a priority for us. Alternatively, if you're into more vigorous exercise, and I know you're doing some things with triathlons here, Jackie, as well, you can do the moderate or you can do the vigorous, and that would be 25 minutes, 3 days a week. And I'll come back to talk a little bit about that in a minute. And there's also strength training, which we don't give a lot of focus on a lot of the times when we talk about recommendations for exercise. So at least twice a week strength training is recommended as well. So just to mention too, in the Irish guidelines, we haven't included vigorous activity in them for a couple of reasons, but but I did want to make you aware, because more and more research is coming out speaking to the benefits of vigorous activity. So as I said, in terms of the timing thing, it really is just about prioritizing it, and this sums it up quite nicely for me. It's an investment in your health, it's an investment in yourself, and in your own self-care as well. So these are just some examples of what moderate intensity is. I'm sure you all probably have a good sense. You know, I think that the little phrase huff don't puff, glow don't flow, bump don't thump kind of sums it up. So it's that type of kind of relaxed, enjoyable paced activity. And there is, you know, for any of you here who are couch potatoes, you're actually in a good place, because the benefits you get from starting activity actually massively ramp up. You get the most benefits when you go from being inactive to somewhat active. And you can see the benefits keep continuing up. However, if you're an elite athlete or doing very high continuous endurance events, like people who do the marathons, 10 marathons a year every year, actually the benefits can start to drop down when you get to that level. And there's actually, again, a lot of research coming out over the last few years showing in endurance runners who've been active all their life that they've actually quite hardened arteries, which is quite surprising. No other risk symptoms, but just quite a lot of hardening of the arteries. Yeah, do your Ironman, but just don't do them 3 times a year. So that's kind of the benefits of dose response. As I said, you get more benefits, obviously, the more you do. In terms of the vigorous activity, there was a kind of a groundbreaking study that was done in 2015 in Australia, and as I said, most of the national bodies were promoting more of the moderate intensity, and I suppose the reason and the rationale behind that is that the majority of the populations we saw already are inactive, so if we get them to moderate activity, we're doing quite well, and for a lot of the health benefits, they're gained at that point. But this study showed that actually there's a lot of additional benefits to be gained from doing vigorous activity as well that you don't get when it's just moderate. And this study, it mapped, followed over 200,000 people aged over 45 for 6 years. and they found that those who included more than 30% of their activity was vigorous, they lived, their mortality rate was reduced by 13%. So basically, they, low risk of dying younger. So it's something just to bear in mind as well, to bring some vigorous activity into your day as well. So vigorous is just obviously when you're going at a bit harder pace than you would be at the moderate intensity. Is that making sense? You all still with me? Yeah. Okay. So, and again, when it comes back to exercise, time is often an issue. So with the vigorous activity, do you remember the guidelines for vigorous? How many minutes? It was 25 minutes, 3 times a week. So if time's an issue for you, you're going to get all those benefits if you just up the pace of the intensity of your exercise. And this just came out this week as the fitness trends for 2018. And high intensity training is up there as number 1 for next year. So it's something you're going to hear more and more about, this kind of higher intensity exercise. And the benefits of interval training are high intensity really, or what it's called, the abbreviation is HIIT, is high intensity interval training. And it's really where you're going intense and you're resting, intense and you're resting. And if we go back to our hunters and gatherers, that's a lot of how their day went. They were active, they were resting, they were active, they were resting. And there's a number of benefits of this. For one, it's super efficient. Like I said, in a lot less time you're getting all those health benefits. It's great for weight loss because your metabolism stays elevated a lot higher after the bout of exercise. And that's kind of what 2 and 3 are saying there, and great for cardiovascular health as well. So just to compare it to a typical kind of aerobic workout would be this grey area here, where during the workout, your heart rate, everything, metabolism increases and then slows down and stays active for a little bit after your exercise. Whereas in high intensity interval training, you're getting metabolism is getting boosted a number of times during the workout, reaches a much higher peak and stays higher a lot longer after the exercise as well. Does that make sense? So again, for students, if you're tight on time, it's exam time or whatever, you still want to do something with a bit more intensity, but shorter duration would work just as well for you. And then just to mention the strength, ideally again 2 days a week for the strength training as well is great to include. So you might think that's great, I'll get my 30 minutes or my 25 minutes of vigorous in, I'm all sorted, that's tick the box. And that's kind of how I used to think, to be honest. I'd usually get my exercise done in the morning and I was done for the day. But what we're finding now, that in addition to getting that done, if you are sedentary the rest of the day, you're kind of counteracting that. The benefits of getting from that are being depleted by being sedentary the rest of the day. So basically, we're encouraged to stand more, which is great that I'm standing up here. I should be getting you all to stand during the talk. But you'll see when in the workday, this reckon that 90% of the time is spent sitting, and school kids 97% of their time is spent sitting, and that's a massive amount of time to be sedentary. So there's a lot more kind of stuff coming out around the benefits of standing. You see a lot of standing desks, so you could be pioneers down here in Tralee and get that trend going. Another simple thing is just every time I'm on the phone, I'll stand. Little simple things that will make a difference. Getting up, going to the water cooler, just taking those little short breaks to get up and to stand. And by standing, you're increasing your energy expenditure by 20%, which is quite high over the course of a day. And in addition to that, muscle activity increases by 200%. So it is worth considering and worth keeping in mind as well. Just looking for those opportunities throughout the day to be active, as well as that structured time as well. So any questions so far? Are you all passing up the heat? Are you all doing okay? You still with me?
Yep. Can I just ask you,
Yeah?
David, if you do, let's say, a similar amount of exercise, do you kind of plateau? Should you be
it's
kind of
always kind of gradually improving, increasing. Yeah, so it's kind of the principle of gradual overload. So you want to be increasing all the time, so you can either increase the duration or increase the intensity. And that's where, if let's say we're going for a nice 30-minute walk every day, and you only had the 30 minutes, the thing there to do would be try and do it at a faster pace, or start walk jogging, just always kind of gradually building it in. And it's great to build variety in a way. Sometimes we get creature the habit doing the same walk. Even if you do the walk in reverse direction, it's amazing how different it can be. So just looking for variety all the time, and maybe trying out a different activity in an aerobics class or Zumba or something where it would be a bit more intensity built into it as well. So yeah, always trying to kind of bring it up a little bit, either intensity or duration. So in terms of motivation tips, there's tons of stuff out there in the literature, and I didn't want to make this too heavy. So what I've kind of done, what I'm going to do here is share, I suppose, from my experience, what's really worked with people that I've worked with over the years. And a lot of it is evidence-based, but I'm keep it on the light side. So I suppose the first thing is to make exercise a priority. If it's not a priority, it's not going to be done. We all have competing demands every single day from us. For me, my exercise goes in my work diary as it does an appointment to the doctor, or an appointment or a meeting or any other thing. It's in there as important, or if not more important, than a lot of my other commitments. And that's what I would hope that you would do for yourselves as well. You've seen the evidence, you've seen the benefits you can get from it, how it can help you live healthier, help you live longer. So it really, really is important to kind of schedule it in and find that 30 minutes out of those 1,440. we can manage it, it's amazing. And I've done people who just say there's absolutely no way. I have them do time studies, and it's just amazing. You sit down and watch the weather forecast on the 6 o'clock news, and before you know it, it's the 9 o'clock news. It's amazing where you can pull back time from, or else it might tend to get up early, and that's where I find my time. So looking at those opportunities and making sure that you do prioritise it and fit it in as a non-negotiable appointment to yourself. And a big thing I think related to that, and for me, is your why. To make it a priority, yes, based on the benefits and the health reasons and so on, but really come in and ask yourself, why is it important to you? And we'll all have slightly different reasons. For someone, it might be losing weight. For somebody, they might be pre-diabetic and want to make sure they don't, become diabetic. For someone else, it might be a personal challenge to, complete 5K or whatever it is. So it's really, understanding what that is for you and keeping that really alive, because those days, particularly coming into the winter, it's dark, it's wet, and you don't want to get out of bed. You don't, you want to hit the snooze. Then you remind yourself of your why, and then it definitely does become much easier. So I suppose related to that and coming out of that would then be to set your goals. It's really important to have a goal. If you're just kind of pottering around doing your little bit, it's great, but having an end goal is really, really important, and it is one thing that can make a big difference. So whether it's to bring down your park run 5K time, or whether it's to learn how to swim, or whatever it is, to have that goal, to set it, put a time to it, and then again that's going to be part of your why and help you keep going as well. Recording your activity is really important as well. As I said earlier, we always tend to overestimate our activity levels, and it's when you only stop and write it down. I consider myself active, but it's only when I write it down and I see, oh goodness, I was traveling that day and something else happened this day, so it really is kind of an eye-opener. So it helps you to plan your activity. It helps as a motivator because you can see what you've done and when. It gives you a reality check, as I said. It also you become aware of the barriers. With clients I work with one-to-one, what I do is ask them to do is if they didn't get their walk or their whatever in, write in why. And you can see the patterns of the reasons coming out as well, and that helps you address them and put strategies in place around them. Great for accountability, particularly if you have a coach or someone you're working with. I see mine up there in the corner. When I was doing my Ironman, I used Training Peaks. So you can use these on apps. There's loads of apps on your phone, FitnessPal and Map My Run, and you can record your activity in any device. But when you are recording and you have somebody checking in on it, that can be definitely a big motivator as well. So, and that could be a friend, it could be someone to check in and at the end of the week with you and see how you got on, or, your walking partner and so on. So really worthwhile considering, and then to reward yourself. That's something we kind of forget to do, and this is research based, so if your husband questions why your credit card has been used to buy yourself a bunch of flowers or whatever it is, the research shows that the more we reward ourselves for achieving our goals, the more likely we are to continue with them and set new ones. So you can blame the research when you go out and splash in some nice sports gear or something. And a simple one, but really effective one, is always have your gear to hand. I'll always have a spare pair of runners and a rain jacket in the boot of the car. I'll have my swim bag ready. It's always good to have the stuff to hand because, let's say we finish up early, you've 10 minutes before your class, you could throw on the runners and go for, get your 10 minutes in there. So simple things like that, or, if you're dropping kids to sports, and waiting for them for the hour, that you, walk around the pitch while you're there for the hour if you have your stuff. So just always having stuff to hand makes it much more likely you're going to do it. And to have it as well, so you don't say, oh, I'll go home, pick up my swim gear, and then I'll go for my swim. Because when you go home, the chances are you're not going to go out again. So again, either going on the way to work or going on the way home from work, simple things like that do make a big difference. And use your time wisely. We're all stuck for time, so use your exercise time to meet up with a friend. Rather than going for a coffee, you go and you meet for a walk in Ballyseedy Woods or something nice like that. So you're using your time. If it is sparse, you can listen to podcasts. I know training for the Ironman, I was on the turbo, watching videos and different things that I needed to do for my own work. So you can integrate and mix up quite a lot as well. And there goes my mic, I think, is it? At the back of it. I didn't touch it. To mix it up, we talked about that a little bit of variety. Make sure you're trying a good range of activities. That there's so many different classes out there, so many different options out there, loads of options for new to try and welcoming people into different activities, loads of adult education classes. Particularly in the winter, it's nice to have classes to go to, when you mightn't be as motivated yourself to get out. So checking out what's happening. There's so much going on in Tralee, there really is. So check out what the options are and what you might be able to. And usually when you sign up for a course or a program, you're much more likely, you paid in advance, so you're much more likely to stick with it as well. I'm definitely a big advocate of doing it first thing in the morning. I find, one is because your brain, do it before your brain figures out what you're doing. But two, as a busy working mum, there's so many things that can happen during the course of the day, or as a student, or as anybody really, that so many more obstacles can build up as the day goes on, that by the time the evening comes, the chances of you doing it are getting more and more reduced. Now, if you're really strong-willed and motivated, you can get over that. But for a lot of us, willpower actually depletes during the day as well. They say we've about 10 to 15 minutes worth of willpower that's used up to all the various different decisions that we're faced with during the day. So, by the time the evening comes, it can be more challenging. So you've it done in the morning, all you have to do, what I do every night before I go to bed is I leave my workout gear out. So all I have to think about is just getting up and putting it on and walking out the door. So it just makes, the easier you can make it, the easier it's going to be for you. So definitely, I found, and with numerous people I've worked with, that really works just to get up and get out and to do it. A little harder in the winter when it's pitch black out there and you think, am I crazy? But it's so worth it when you come back and you're all set up for your day and raring to go. Definitely having a buddy or having somebody that how many of you walk with someone or have somebody you exercise with? It makes it so much easier if you've arranged, particularly, as I said, in this weather, if you've arranged to meet someone at 6 o'clock, you're much more likely to go than if you were like, look on your own and you were looking out the window thinking, will I go or not? But if you've arranged to meet someone, or if you have a class, or you're a member of a club or a class or something like that, you're definitely much more likely to go. This might seem like a strange one, but 2/3 of dog walkers, 67% of dog walkers actually reach the physical activity recommendations just by walking the dog. So it's a strange one. I don't know of any other physical activity intervention out there that's got that many people that active. So I know it's an odd one to put in, but it's one that does work. And if you don't have a dog, I'm sure you'll have tons of neighbours or people that would only be delighted for you to take their dog for a walk. So that kind of, it's that commitment and that priority that they know the dog needs to be taken for a walk. So hopefully you can reverse that and make that priority to yourself, that you need to be taken for a walk as well. So if you have a dog, you've a bit of a plus there. And obviously, the last one there is to enjoy it. We're never going to stick with something that we don't enjoy, and all the research will tell us this in various different ways. It has to be something enjoyable, and that's why it's worth getting out there and trying different activities. I remember running a course in Dublin for women, and we tried a whole range of activities, and it was skipping was the one that brought so much joy back to these ladies who were in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and just the playground games, they had such a blast and dance, and these are things they hadn't done in years. So you'd never know what, might be out there that you might enjoy unless you get out and give it a go and give it a try. So that's kind of a summary of them there. Is there anything else that helps anybody to kind of get motivated? Anything else that works for you that you found? If you think to a time that you were quite active, was there something that was getting you going with that? You've never been active? Not after today. Yeah, that was a motivator for you to get out, and yeah, definitely.
Some people, music works.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, throwing it on in the kitchen while the potatoes are boiling, giving it a go. There's always opportunities, every time the kettle boils, if you go down and do a few squats or burpees or something, it's that high intensity, it's just getting that metabolism going, burning those extra calories, all those little things work. Kids are another, great one. You can spend tons of energy, bouncing on a trampoline or playing or kicking a ball with kids. Loads of, things. But in terms of motivation, it's what works for you. You know, it really is finding your why, I think, is the biggest thing. And if that's strong enough to get you out of bed and help you reach that goal, it really can be beneficial. So I suppose to summarise, hopefully you've gotten the sense that it really is good for your health. It's going to reduce your risk of pretty much every illness and disease that's out there. And you know, for the moderate intensity, you're talking about 30 minutes, 5 days a week. I should be doing this in a quiz, really, shouldn't I? Really feel like I'm in the college. And then really working on the intensity, particularly if time is tight for you and you've got a base of moderate intensity there, you can work on bringing up the intensity and also the duration as well. Sit less, stand more. So look for those opportunities. We all know where they are, you know, because it's difficult parking here, even simple things like that. And it's amazing how freeing it is when you let go of having to have that closest spot to the door. It really is, you know, when you say, oh, there's one far away, great. And you know, it just saves time and energy and gives you that few extra steps in there as well. But consider that kind of the getting up, you know, when we're sitting all day, you know, I tend to do it myself a lot of the computer. So just try to kind of even set a reminder on the phone every hour to get up and go for water, get up and you know, do a few little breathing exercises or something. Anything like that would work. Yeah, on the note, I'm going to get you all to stand up. Why not? We'll just do a few little breathing exercises just to boost. So now, by doing this, you're boosting your energy expenditure by 20%, muscle activity by 200%. So we'll just do a simple little breathing exercise. You all sound kind of stressed. You're using so big deep breath in and exhaling down. And again, reaching up, reach up to the ceiling, looking up this time, stretching up, and all the way down. And third time, reaching up, you can go up on your tippy toes if you want, if you've decent enough balance. And reaching up, stretching all the way through, and shaking out the arms, shaking out the legs, and sitting down, well done. So just simple little thing like that. It just took less than a minute, I'd say, to do that. So you can feel the benefit of that, just even less than a minute there, and just you can, you know, already kind of you're all a bit more chirpy, and you know, just a simple little thing like that can make a big difference. And your strength and flexibility exercise is always important to include there as well. And you'll find with a lot of the higher intensity stuff, you'll naturally be doing kind of strength and flexibility exercises in them, looking for those opportunities. And the final question to ask yourself is, can you limit your sitting and sleeping to 23.5 hours? So it's back to that half hour a day, and that's the question to keep asking yourselves. And hopefully, you know, that it is kind of moving up there on your priority list now to get out there and get active. So thank you very much. So I'm happy to take any questions if any of you have any. Or yep.
Irish Sports Council publish annual reports on sport and physical activity. And they've reported, say, since 2008 that the percentage of people doing physical exercise has gone from about 30% to 47%. I'm just, now I know you have 30% there, but the figure that I had considered 47 is, what is the kind of reasoning behind such a significant increase, say, I think that was 2008 to 2013 figures? Is it time, I suppose, maybe being a big element with more unemployment? And also, I suppose, the nature of what people, I'm coming at this from an economic perspective maybe, but the nature of what people are doing in terms of expenditure on physical exercise. Are they, you know, doing more walking and kind of free type of activities rather than membership to gyms and golf and etc.? Or do you know anything about that aspect of sport and physical exercise?
Yeah, no, the trends in the sport monitor, they did attribute them to the recession, that people had more time in their hands, a lot more people were unemployed and were participating in more activity.
Have you seen a benefit to that? Sector and all of that?
Yeah, it's not that, there's a big, I mean, and you hit the nail there, I'm actually on the National Physical Activity Plan, there's a research subgrouping set up to look at this kind of thing, because we have the difficulty in Ireland in terms of how we gather the data around physical activity. We have the Sloan surveys, we have the health behaviour in school, you know, there's about there's a sports monitor, there's Tilda, there's loads of different surveys, but they're all asking different questions, and a lot of them aren't even in alignment. Like the Sloan survey was asking, are you active 20 minutes or more? It wasn't even in alignment with the guidelines. So that's the difficulty. So I'm part of that subgroup at the moment who are looking at the research that's out there in Ireland at the moment and what ideally we should be asking and what kind of the gold standard questions are, so we can start getting baseline data and that's consistent across all age groups as well, because we have different studies looking at different age groups. So there is a lot of inconsistency there in the moment in terms of the studies that are, the numbers that are coming out. So it is being looked at.
Has it been increasing?
Well, it depends on what you look at. It really has. The Healthy Ireland data is showing that it's gone down. Sloan data, that there's inconsistencies because they've asked different questions, and that's but we know there's a very high level of inactivity. In Ireland, we do know that, and somewhere in around 2 to 4 out of 10 people are inactive.
Are the types of exercise people are doing changing?
Walking is the number one activity, always, and has been consistently over the years. In terms of girls, dance is kind of on the increase, but there hasn't been massive changes in terms of the changes in the numbers, in terms of the types of activities. Walking's always been number one. Triathlon, cycling, those kind of sports are increasing. Triathlon is the fastest growing sport in Europe at the moment. So there's some that are kind of changing and moving, but walking still number one.
Even the numbers doing marathon every year have gone up quite significantly, or leveled off a bit now.
Yeah, it's kind of gone through trends as well. It would have been very high earlier, and it does go through changes. But and it's interesting to look at it. But again, as you all know, in IT, the research it's what's been asked and how it's been asked, and how solid the information is coming through can be a problem at times. To look at that.
Definitely, I was actually just doing electronic this morning. There is a drop off in team sport, and it's only soccer and GA football that appear in the top 10. So taking walking out of it, the first is individual exercise, which we go to the gym, and also exercise classes. And number 2 was running, and number 3 was swimming. Swimming was slightly down because they asked about indoor swimming and outdoor swimming. And when they did their field work that particular summer, it was poor, the weather was poor, and the sea temperature was quite cold. So all those things affect it as well. Yeah.
And that swimming one is an interesting one as well. That's always there, but I don't see that in my experience that it's such a popular activity. So I wonder how it's.
That was the sports monitor in 2015. So in 11 and 13. Indoor swimming, and 15 was the same. It was the outdoor swimming that changed a bit.
Which is,
Yeah, the international trend in Flanders, they've done a lot of research looking at patterns, and that whole thing of getting away from the collective and into the individual is huge. Even in terms of, even when people play collectively, they're not playing as part of a club. So that the casual, just coming together to kick about a ball and that kind of thing. So the pitch is next door to us here. We're on the North Campus now, sorry, to reorientate myself down in the complex. That facilitates the kind of casual play that, so our club membership is growing quite significantly.
It's interesting though that number 2 on the American College of Sports Medicine trends for 2018 is group training then as well, so that's more American based too. More doing it on an individual.
The notion of joining
It
doesn't preclude that, but the idea is that people are more casual
about their approach to it.
The context in which they're
I think so. In looking around, I would think that people, this is obviously not based on any research, but just looking around me, I think people in their 40s kind of age bracket, maybe that's because I'm there, 40s, 50s, seem to be more, doing a lot of cycling, doing a lot of running, all those kind of outdoor hill walks.
Step out of your front door, put your shoes on, get on your bike, you're not going to get in the car.
But what you wonder about that then, Jackie, is that when we talk about children being so, inactive and the childhood obesity and all that, these people are the parents of that age group, and you are the parents who are active. Is that not rubbing off on their children in terms of bringing their children?
It has a massive impact, and it's
class-based too, is it?
It's massively class-based. Actually, 40 to 50-year-old women have passed out their male counterparts according to the IFM recent research.
But in terms of having an effect on the kids, and that's an important message for all of us as well, and it's one that I think the family-based activity opportunities is something I'm always advocating and pushing, that we provide more of, because if you look at the research, a child of a parent who's active is 3 times more likely to be active themselves, and if both parents are active, they're 6 times more likely to be active. Again, there's no other intervention I know of that's going to get kids that active than that. That's a massive increase. So again, in terms of our why, if we're not doing this for ourselves, and we have a kind of nearly an obligation to be doing it for our children, because we are a role model for them, and we might think it's the David Beckhams and the whoever, is influencing them when it comes to their sport activity, but it's not. It's the parents play a massive role. So I think that's something as well we need to consider. That, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
So,
we've just given out an evaluation form. Does everyone have one? Okay. We would really appreciate it if you would just fill this out first, please, anonymously, and you can just leave it on the table. So thanks again to Ailis, and as I said, this is the first talk in a series of 4 talks. So the next one next Wednesday is down in the South Campus. And then the 3rd week we're up here, and the 4th week South Campus again. So they're at lunchtime every Wednesday, culminating in the colour run or walk on the 30th. So hopefully today pick up a few tips to help you get active.
thanks.